to go to film school? Always look forward to our Friday visits with Film Study Professor. He's a lot of fun. Joe Fortunato on board with us, and he's going to have fun with a classic movie, and I'll kind of let Joe take it from there. Good morning, Joe. Thanks for joining me again, my friend.
Well, good morning, Ray. Good morning, everybody. And yes, we do indeed have a classic. Well, maybe one of the most classic we've ever had on this film. It may be the oldest anniversary we've ever celebrated here. The 90th anniversary. Yeah, you heard that right. 90 years of the film Modern Times, which is one of Charlie Chaplin's great films. A lot of people consider it his masterpiece, released in February of 1936. And we're celebrating its 90th anniversary this year. It was written and directed by Charlie Chaplin. The score was also done by Charlie Chaplin, and we'll talk about that. This film gave us the great song Smile, which one of my favorite songs in the world. A lot of people don't know that Charlie Chaplin wrote that song, and he wrote it for this film. We'll get to that in a little bit. Stars Charlie Chaplin and Paulette Goddard, who he was in a relationship with at the time. This is Chaplin's last performance as the iconic Little Tramp, and his character struggles to survive in the modern industrialized world. And I will say it right out of the gate here. This is a timeless film, even though we're celebrating 90 years. It's about man's relationship with technology and workers' rights and things like that, things that are relevant today. So it's definitely not lost its satire in all these years. It's widely considered one of the greatest films ever. It was one of the first 25 films selected for the Library of Congress National Film Registry. So the first year they did that, they put this film in. That's how kind of important it is. It's listed as the 78th greatest film of all time by AFI. And as I mentioned, this is the final appearance of Chaplin's iconic Little Tramp character. And it was supposed to be, and it's also the last major American studio film to fully embrace the silent era storytelling. Yes, you heard me say that. This is technically a silent film, even though it's well into the sound era. It's 5 or 6 years after the development of sound, and sound was pretty much everything. But Chaplin said, nope, I'm different. I have enough clout to get a silent film made, even though we're only making talkies at this point. And he didn't want the Tramp's character to talk. Since this is the last appearance by the Tramp's character, the Tramp never talks, which makes him sort of an everyman, and people all over the world can relate to him. The only time he talks in this film, like I said, it's in the sound era, so there is sound in the film, but the Tramp himself doesn't talk. He does speak, and I'm using air quotes that you can't see, for the first time at the end of the film when he sings the Nonsense Gibberish song, which is a whole song that you can totally understand, even though the lyrics are completely gibberish. So that's part of the genius of Charlie Chaplin. There's a couple of famous images. I'm guessing this is a film, unless some of our listeners are big classic film fans or cinephiles, I'm guessing that most of our audience hasn't seen this film. But you probably recognize some of the iconic bits. There's the feeding machine where Chaplin's hooked up to this feeding machine and trying to save time for workers to eat their lunch while they're working. There's also another very famous scene where he's on an assembly line, and that scene, maybe more people are familiar with the I Love Lucy parody. I Love Lucy did a famous where they were on an assembly line with candy. That's a very famous scene that a lot of people have seen. That's taken directly from this film. And then finally, maybe the iconic shot where Chaplin is going through the gears of the machinery, and people know that image even if they've never seen the film. That imagery, those gears were made of soft rubber, but they were still very painful. So Chaplin only shot that scene one time because it was just uncomfortable to shoot.
We're doing film school with Joe Fortunato, and as I always mention, he's a film study professor. And Joe, I imagine your attraction with this film, I imagine you've gone through this film with your students many times. And as a film study professor, what sticks out or is really important for you to share with people pertaining to this iconic film?
Well, like I said, for this Little Tramp character is probably one of, if not the most iconic image in all of film history. So the fact that this is his last appearance is pretty important. And the fact that Chaplin had the clout to make a essentially silent film during the era of talking speaks a lot. And I challenge people to take a look at this film over the weekend. A lot of times people do that. This one's easy to find. This is on Prime and it's on HBO Max. So a lot of people have those. You can check this film out. And the other thing is Chaplin uses sound as satire. The voices that you do hear during this film are the factory boss and the mechanical salesman and the radio in the prison office. And these are all these are all voices we hear through technology. So it was symbolic that only technology literally becomes the voice of authority. So it's very deep in terms of its satire and commentary on modern life. Hence the film Modern Times.
There you go. Today's film, and I have to tell you, and I'll be honest, every year, every movie that Joe has done for us this year, I have seen and have some sort of opinion on it. But he has enlightened me. I haven't seen this movie, Joe, to be quite honest with you. But now, and I think I will, because I'll have some time this weekend, I'm going to take this in this weekend to follow up on what you presented to us. Again, it's Charlie Chaplin, Modern Times, today's film school with Joe Fortunato. Joe, anything else going on? Website you'd like to share with us this morning?
Yeah, we'll get to that in just a second. There's one other thing I teased up and I wanted to follow up on before we close this out. Chaplin also wrote the score. He was the composer of the film. So think of the genius there. He writes, directs, and composes the music, and he writes the song Smile. The lyrics were added later, but the melody of the song Smile, which is one of the great songs of all time, it was recorded by Nat King Cole in the 50s with the lyrics, and it was a big hit, and it's still, a lot of people call it their favorite song of all time. So if nothing else, if you're curious, go listen to where that song came from. So I definitely challenge our listeners to treat themselves. I don't even want to call it homework, but to this film. Anyway, you mentioned stuff going on. We've got a lot of things coming up in the next few weeks. Go to my website, joefortunato.net, and you can see all the events coming up. The one I want to talk about mostly here, because it's the first up, is in less than 2 weeks now, February 14th. That's Valentine's Day. I will be doing a lecture called As Time Goes By, The History and Legacy of Casablanca. That will be at the Green Branch Library on February 14th at 11 a.m. That is a free event. It's going to be about an hour. We'll talk about Casablanca. This is not a screening. We'll talk about it. We'll have a discussion, and I'm sure we'll talk about classic films or anything the audience wants to talk about. So come on out and see me, learn a little bit more about Casablanca, and just discuss classic films. And then, of course, we have our next Fortunato Film School live at Gillies on March 21st. That's a little ways away, but I want you to get your tickets now because tickets are available on my website, joefortunato.net. We are doing The Godfather, which is one of our most requested films. So we want everybody to come out to Gillies and watch The Godfather with us on March 21st. So get your tickets soon.
I can hardly wait for that one because you're talking about Ray Horner's A-list. The Godfather is there. I can't wait for you to dissect that film coming up on March 21st. And as Joe mentioned, get your tickets to that now. I have a feeling we'll have a jam-packed house for that, as we did over the holiday season as well. Joe, my friend, always appreciate you taking time to join us on Fridays, and we'll do it again next week with Film School. Thanks, Joe.
All right, thanks much. I look forward to it.
You got it. Joe Fortunato, again, film study professor, joins us for Film School each and every Friday here on the Ray Horner Morning Show, 93.5, 1590 WAKR. You know.